Hi guys, now let's see how we can equalize one of the most important drums in the drum kit. I'm talking about the snare drum. In this case, I have this little session with 4 tracks. I have the kick drum, the snare drum, and 2 overheads. Let's hear it. Okay, in this case, it's very important to hear what our overheads are doing before even equalizing the snare drum, because a lot of the sound of the whole kit comes from the overhead microphones. For example, if I mute them, you can hear that it's really dull, very dark sound. But if I increase the overheads, I can perceive more brightness. Of course, we can hear cymbals and some hi-hats as well, maybe some part of the toms, but what I'm saying is that you cannot really EQ the snare in solo mode, because this would be very deceptive. It's better to try to create a balance without any EQ first. As you can see here, my EQs are flat, and the overheads give me that bright that I need in my snare drum. Now, once you have a pretty decent mix with your overheads, then you can start analyzing the sound of the snare drum. To make this more clear, I'm going to use the solo for my snare, but this is just for analysis. My final decisions have to be done with the whole kit sounding. The first thing you need pretty much all the time is to apply the high pass filter and get rid of some of the rumble. This would be too much. I'm losing the bottom of my snare drum, so in general you could go for something around 100 Hz, as most snare drums don't have any content below 100 Hz. Any bass drum leaking would be filtered out. In this analyzer, we can see that there's this peak right here. I'm going to select this with my parametric EQ, and it's here around 222 Hz, and this is a harmonic. You can hear it. We can see that this is a little high. Maybe we could tame it a little bit, reduce it a little bit. Not too much. So this is part of the natural sound of my snare drum. I'm assuming that you recorded your snare drum properly. And in this case, maybe we don't need a lot of EQ. But if that's not the case, then you would need to shape your sound a little more. Now, I want you guys to see here, our snare drum has another little peak here using our analyzer, and I'm going to boost it. And we are talking about the fundamental frequency there. The fundamental frequency is the lowest frequency from an instrument, and in this case it's around 164, maybe 150, something like that. You hear it? Around there. As we can hear, this part could be boosted a little bit, and it gives our snare a more rounded low end. Right now, I'm just analyzing the frequencies of this snare drum. Of course, in your snare drum, the frequencies may be a little different. This depends on the kind of snare drum, its size, the tuning, material, etc. So this is just a general approach, okay? We have these 2 frequencies. Now, with the snare drums, you have to pay attention with the mid frequencies, low mid frequencies, around 400 or 500. This area usually sounds a little honky. And the last frequency that you need to be careful is around 3 to 5 Ks, which gives us the sound of the snares. Okay. Actually, there's not a lot of energy around these frequencies. You can see that in the spectrum analyzer. We have so much more energy here. This is normal, but when we mix and equalize our snare, we may be needing some boosting here. So we have our 4 frequencies, this, and now it's time to start equalizing. Let's hear the whole drum kit again. Okay, I'm going to boost this a little bit. Maybe I will boost this a little bit and I will reduce this a little bit. Let's compare. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Remember, try to use 3 dB steps, for example, 3 dB here, minus 3 dB here. If you need more, then go for another 3 dBs. Let's compare. I think it sounds better to my ears. Of course, this would be a subjective decision. It depends on what kind of sound you want. But in this case, I think it sounds a little more balanced in this low area. Now let's try with the next band. You remember, between 400, 500, so something like that. Well, this area, I don't want to boost it, but maybe I will reduce it a little bit. Let's try it. Okay, let's compare. Okay, I think I like it, but as I said before, I'm going to try with around 3 dBs. Okay, it sounds cleaner. What I want is a brighter snare drum, so I think that that's kind of nice. In some cases you may not need all of this, so it's up to you, the final decision. And now let's see if I can add a little bit of this area. 3 dBs would be enough. Another 3 dBs. Well, that's too much. Let's see if that's the right frequency. Yeah, I think so. It's a matter of tastes as well. For example, this would be an EQ curve. I could adjust the Q parameter to make this softer, you know, a softer curve. Maybe here. You have to be careful because very wide filters will affect your overall sound. Be careful about it. Okay, the final touch that you need is to compensate the loudness or the volume. You have to hear this bypassed and sense the volume. You want to get the same loudness. So in this case, I'm going to lower just 1 dB. I think we have the same loudness with a bypassed plugin and with the activated plugin, so just 1 dB. If your equalization is more aggressive, then you may need to do more aggressive adjustments in your output gain. Once I've done this, I can compare without being deceived by the loudness of my track. So Okay, I think I like it. And this would be an approach to equalize our snare drum or pretty much any other drum.